good evening, and welcome back to the Horror, Metal, and Comics channel. I'm Lord Hellhound, and I'm still here at the beach, having a great time, having some fun in the sun, And I finally found time to go see Dark Phoenix, which is the most recent installment in the X-Men franchise. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the X-Men movies, well, most of them anyway, and I've seen every single one of them in theaters, starting with the original X-Men from 2000. So it's been almost 20 years in the making, and this is the latest entry. What did I think of it? Well, it was okay. It was alright. I'm kind of in the middle. It's not terrible. It's not unwatchable. It's not another Batman and Robin or Catwoman or Daredevil or Fantastic. It's not that bad, but it's not really great either. I still think Origins is the worst X-Men movie. But the big question is, how does this one compare to The Last Stand, which was the previous adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga, which is one of my favorite storylines from the comics. And honestly, I'm still waiting for a proper live-action adaptation of that saga. It's one of my favorite storylines, and I still have yet to see it done very well. Because this one didn't really deliver either. Now, I think The Last Stand is a little underrated. I don't think it's terrible either. I actually think it does have its moments. I love Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I love the scenes with the Magneto moving the Golden Gate Bridge and the battle at the end. I thought that it definitely had some strong points. There were some redeeming qualities. Come on, admit it. You had a good time with some of it. It was highly flawed, yes. Now, this movie is kind of the opposite. The Last Stand was a bad movie with a lot of things that made it better. This movie is kind of more just okay with not a lot great about it. Of course, James McAvoy's great as Professor X, Charles Xavier. Michael Fassbender's great as Magneto, the young Magneto. One funny thing is this movie takes place in 1992, so James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender have, 8 years to look like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, and, Sophie Turner, Jean Grey, the Phoenix, has 8 years to start looking like Famke Janssen, and same as Scott Summer Cyclops, all of them, so, yeah, because the original took place in 2000. So, but anyway, I still don't think this is a great adaptation. They adapted Days of Future Past very well. That's one of my favorite saga storyline, or that's one of my favorite story arcs from the comics. Did that one well. I'm still waiting for a proper Dark Phoenix. All right. Well, we'll say this. I like the evil shape-shifting aliens. Whether it's Doctor Who or Star Trek or Critters. I love shape-shifting aliens. Aliens that can take on human form and mimic anybody that they want and, transform and change shape. I think that's awesome. And also I will say that the Dark Phoenix character herself, Jean Grey, played by Sophie Turner, and The Last Stand, of course, she's played by Famke Janssen, reprising her role from the first two movies. I liked the way they did the character herself in this one better than The Last Stand. Because in The Last Stand, I kind of felt like she was just a pawn of Magneto. She wasn't really her own character. She didn't really have much to do. In this one, she had a lot more to do. And was kind of a more defined character. And in The Last Stand, she was a little too one-dimensional. Didn't have any lines. Didn't have much of a personality. This one, she was a lot better, I think. And then Last Stand, she kind of stood around looking evil with those black eyes and just, I mean, she did a lot of damage, don't get me wrong. She did a whole lot of damage in that movie, but this one felt more sincere. I feel like I kind of related to her a little more this time. I don't care for Mystique, Raven, played by Jennifer Lawrence, being... not only is she an X-Man, she's like the leader of the X-Men, like the second in command next to Professor X, and I don't care for that. I don't think I ever read a comic where that was the case. If there's one out there, I haven't read it. I don't think so. She should be a villain. Or something. She shouldn't be the leader of the X-Men, that's for sure. That should be Cyclops. Cyclops should be the leader of the X-Men. We still haven't got to really see that yet. We still haven't seen a live-action movie where Cyclops really takes charge and gives orders and takes command and knows what's best for everybody. I can't stand that. But anyway, this was like the first X-Men movie without Wolverine, too. And, I didn't really miss him. I didn't think this movie would have benefited from Wolverine being there. We've seen more than enough of Wolverine. He's my favorite character in the X-Men, after all, but we've seen more than enough of him. Done very well, for the most part. I can't stress that enough, for the most part. He's been done well. But, Hugh Jackman did an incredible job. But anyway, 19 years in the making. This is supposedly the last installment of the main X-Men series, not counting spin-offs like Deadpool and X-Force and New Mutants and some of those other things that are coming up. I guess there's going to be a Cable movie, too. And yeah, it didn't really go all the bang. A lot of people didn't like Apocalypse. I thought Apocalypse was actually pretty good. I didn't think it was too bad. It was flawed, but it wasn't as good as Days of Future Past for sure. That's my favorite X-Men movie. That and X2, I think, are the two best ones. And yeah, this was probably my least favorite of the current timeline. So many inconsistencies and continuity errors that, yeah, I stress the word timeline because also, yeah, the one thing I noticed is without giving anything away, without spoiling it, the fate of a certain character in this movie makes it a little hard for the alternate future that we saw at the very end of Days of Future Past. Yeah, it didn't add up. It didn't really connect well to that. Was this a retcon? Yeah, the continuity's all over the place. That's why I really just ready for them to start fresh, start all over. Come on, we've had that for almost 20 years. Please, just start over, man. I want to see somebody else give their take on the X-Men. But yeah, I like the shape-shifting aliens. I think the character of the Phoenix herself overall was better than what they did with her in The Last Stand. I still prefer Famke Janssen to Sophie Turner, but the performance in The Last Stand versus the performance in Dark Phoenix does win. And yeah, they kind of, the way they handled her in The Last Stand, they kind of did end up kind of going that direction in this one too. It was just not as bad. What else? Yeah, Nicholas Hoult returns as Beast. He does an adequate job. I feel like most of the X-Men characters just kind of popped up and there were just cameos, Nightcrawler and Storm and all that. And that's one of my biggest problems with the whole series. Even the good X-Men movies, they've never been able to juggle different characters very well. Compare that to the MCU, where each character's totally fleshed out, gets an adamant amount of screen time. I mean, they've had their own individual movies too, but even in the ones where it's an ensemble piece, everybody gets their chance to shine. And the X-Men movies, they haven't been able to always balance that out very well. And that's another problem in this movie. But they did do it better than some of the others in this one, I gotta admit. Even some of the better ones, actually. And also, is it just me, or does, Eric Lynch, or Magneto, played by Michael Fassbender, does he have the exact same arc in each one of these newer X-Men? First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and now this one. I mean, he's gone back and forth from the hero to the villain so many times. He changes his heart like I change my clothes. It's like, pick a side, pick an allegiance. I guess you could just say he's an anti-hero, but I don't know. I think it's a little more complex than that. He loses somebody close to him, and he puts his past behind him. I used to hurt people. Now I'm going to hurt people again. No, I'm the good guy. No, I'm the bad guy. Come on, man. Like, he's awesome. I think Fassbender does a great job as Magneto, but the way they've written it, it's like they can't decide what side he's going to be on. And I know Magneto's done that in the comics for sure. He's been a villain to a hero, but it's been more gradual. They had years and years in the making instead of from movie to movie. And in every movie, it seems like he's a good guy, then a bad guy, or a bad guy, then a good guy, then a bad guy again. It's like, get a handle on the character already. But yeah, again, James McAvoy always does good. He kind of seemed bored here a little bit. But yeah, the movie wasn't overly entertaining. It was kind of bland and forgettable. I'm already kind of I wasn't very blown away by it at all. There's a lot of CGI, which, it's pretty much, you come to expect that. But man, after seeing Endgame, I knew nothing was going to compare. But man, this one didn't even come close, But, what can I say? Endgame was so grand. It was this huge spectacle, and this one just felt like a little ripple in the middle of the ocean, in comparison. Not that I really compared to that. The movie I'm most compared it to is The Last Stand, of course, which already told this arc. So yeah, we've had that Dark Phoenix saga adapted twice, and neither one of them really came close. The best adaptation, of course, was from the 90s X-Men cartoon. That was the best adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga by far. But yeah, anyway, that's my review. I'm not going to, without any spoilers, I'm just going to say, go see it. I guess I recommend it. If you've seen all the other ones, you got to see this one. This is supposedly the final one, so, I've seen all of them in theaters. I started back in 2000, and now I came on, I saw the first one, I saw the last one, and everything in between, and I'm going to see all the spin-offs, too. So yeah, overall, not a terrible movie, not quite as bad as everybody's saying it, but just kind of, not really great either. There were some things I really liked, there were some things I really didn't like. It was mostly just kind of boring. I wasn't very interested, and by the hour mark, I was just kind of ready for everything to be resolved and tied up, and I was kind of ready for it to end. And it did repeat a lot of the same mistakes as The Last Stand, which is frustrating, because it's like they got a second chance and they kind of blew it again. But it did some things a little better, and it did some things a little differently, but overall, not a terrible movie, but I'm ready for them to just reboot the X-Men. Please reboot it, preferably into the MCU. which I think is coming, so we can only hope. Alright guys, I'm Hellhound, thank you for watching. Go see Dark Phoenix, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Maybe I'm being a little too hard on it, but it just wasn't anything too special. So, but go see it anyway. I think you might have a decent time, you know. I'm so glad I saw it overall. Alright guys, I'm Lord Hellhound, thank you for watching. Later.